we're going to present. Okay, hope everyone can see my screen. So policy 4150 is the policy that we use to create the base attendance areas or the assignment plan every year. They're based on 4 pillars: operational efficiency, proximity, stability, and student achievement. So when we look at creating an enrollment plan, we look at years ahead, not just the year in which we're opening new schools, but years ahead. So looking here in 22-23, we have 3 new schools opening: Barton Pond Elementary, Apex Friendship Elementary, Herbert Akins Elementary. We do have another school that will be built, Woods Creek Elementary, which is in the Holly Springs area. It's going to serve as a swing space for 2 years for Bauckham Elementary while they go through a renovation. It will then open in 2024 with students of its own base population. We have no schools planned as of right now for 2023 to open, any new schools. In 2024, we do have, as I mentioned, Woods Creek Elementary in Holly Springs. We have another elementary in Holly Springs on Rex Road. And then we had Felton Grove High School, which was scheduled to open, but the start date is to be determined at this time. So that's why it's highlighted in red. As you look further out, now many of these schools may or may not open at this time. We work with the county planners, the Wake County planners, to create this capital improvement plan, and it does provide us with some flexibility. Should information or data change, it gives us the opportunity to make sure that we, it gives us the opportunity to determine whether we still need to open these particular schools or do we need to push other schools up on the priority list. So scheduled for right now in 2025, we have E49, which is an elementary school in the Fuquay-Varina area. We have Hilltop Needmore Road Elementary, which is on Hilltop Needmore Road in the Fuquay area. South Salem Street site in Apex, which is near Scotts Ridge Elementary. We have Parkside Middle School, which is over by Parkside Elementary in Morrisville. And then there is a smaller high school in and around that campus as well in Morrisville. We have in 2026 a high school in the Raleigh area off of Capitol Boulevard. And then in 2027, we have a middle school out in the Garner area. So those are the future schools that we have coming up. Here are the impacted schools for elementary. You can see the yellow base attendance areas. So the area we'll be talking about tonight, Apex Friendship Elementary, you can see district-wide. This is the area that we're proposing for students to change school assignments. Again, for middle school, none in the Apex area, and the high school. So Apex Friendship Elementary, it's scheduled to open in August of 2022, which would be on the traditional calendar. The school has a design capacity of 716, which holds 716 students. There is no year-round application school offered for several reasons. We do not have a proximate multi-track year-round school that has available seats. And with that, the strain on transportation to provide a not so proximate year-round application school, we did not feel would be in the best interest of parents or the school district. So we're not offering a year-round application school. Now, that doesn't mean that families cannot apply for a multi-track year-round school. They can do so during their request for transfer period. It's just if they are granted, they just would not receive district transportation. The impacted schools with the opening of Apex Friendship Elementary are Olive Chapel and Scotts Ridge. Olive Chapel being on the multi-track year-round calendar currently, and Scotts Ridge on the traditional calendar currently. So the chart here we have is the names of the schools, the calendar types, the capacity with trailers. So you'll see this in a lot of our data tables. Whether a school has trailers or not, we always present the capacity at the most amount of seats that are available for students. And so we'll always provide a capacity with trailers. For Olive Chapel, it's 856. And for Scotts Ridge, it's 736. The 2021 ADM, this was the reported enrollment to DPI, showed that enrollment at Olive Chapel was 1,015, therefore making it 119% crowded. The enrollment for Scotts Ridge was 825, therefore making it 112% crowded. Both schools, as you can see, are overcrowded, and both schools do have enrollment caps. So the charts here, we have the maps on the left-hand side. These are the current base attendance areas. In the green, you have Olive Chapel Elementary. In the tannish orange here, you have Scotts Ridge Elementary. This hashed out area here represents the proposed students or areas that would be moved to the new school. And you can see it on the right-hand side map in yellow. Here's the Apex Friendship Elementary site. So some of the feedback we have gotten from families is, why aren't students who live in this area of the green right here also assigned to Apex Friendship Elementary? And then we also had some families out here to the west towards the county line asking the same question, why are we not assigned to the new school? So I want to go back here to show, here you have elementary, there's 856 seats available at Olive Chapel, 736 seats available at Scotts Ridge, and 716 seats available at Apex Friendship. We have already, prior to this, several hundred students over the design capacity. Not to mention, both schools are capped, and they are both capping out students at a high rate. Specifically Olive Chapel. Olive Chapel today has 485 students that they are sending to both Salem Elementary and Turner Creek as overflow students. So this school was desperately needed in this area. We also looked at the base attendance area and trying to consider some future schools. We have South Salem Street over here, just south of Scotts Ridge, as a future school. We have Woods Creek, which is located over here in Holly Springs towards US 1, which is another future school. And then we recently found out of a new site that's up in this area here off of New Hill Olive Chapel Road. So we do have some new schools in this particular area, and based on that information, we looked at proximity, operational efficiency as the main drivers for creating this base attendance area. Now, when you talk about proximity for the students here, okay, the students in the yellow are in the designated walk zone for Apex Friendship Middle School and High School. So the assumption would be that they are in the walk zone for Apex Friendship Elementary. The students in this area here are not in the walk zone. There is a free-flowing right-hand turn from Evans Road onto what's the name of that road? I'm sorry. It's not Apex Barbecue. I think it's Hume Olive. So there's a free-flowing right-hand turn onto there, and so therefore that does not allow for a walk zone coming off of Evans Road. Okay, so that's why this area was not also assigned. Also looking at a future school coming up in this area, South Salem Street, we were looking at the potential for proximity to another potential new school, splitting the difference. These students here could be assigned to the new school here and or Scotts Ridge, depending on what we're opening here, up at this site here, down in Woods Creek down here, or the other site here. The families in this particular area, looking ahead, you've got Woods Creek as an option, as well as the potential site up here down the road. And what we try not to do is to reassign students within a 3-year period. And so taking that into account, that's how we landed on this particular model. But we are welcoming your feedback. So looking at the before and after. So here you have Olive Chapel Elementary, capacity of 856. It's projected to have an enrollment, this is not counting overflow students. you've got of 175 students assigned to the school, okay? It projects then forward to 24-25 at 172. Scotts Ridge, again, 736, projects to 125% crowded, and then again to 131. So after the proposed move, you have Olive Chapel reduced from 175% to 126%, and then again, looking forward to 124%. Scotts Ridge from 125% to 112, and then again, 131 to 118. Apex Friendship is proposed to open at 93% crowded, which is high for a brand new school. Generally, we prefer to open a new school at or around 80% to allow for future growth. Unfortunately, considering the extreme crowding in the area, we settled on this proposed attendance area to provide relief to the overflow schools of Salem Elementary and Turner Creek Elementary, because there are a large number of students who are currently capped out. So with that, I'm going to open up to any questions that you may have. I know today we're just focusing on Apex Friendship Elementary. If we do have time at the end, I would be open to answering questions from any other proposed moves. So I'm just going to kind of turn it over to the left here and see if I have any questions coming in.
If you would like to submit a question, just drop it in the chat. Thank you.
I need to get a new office. Okay. Okay, very good question. So let me come to here. So the question comes from families who live in this particular area here, saying even though it's not a walk zone, would it be cheaper to hire a crossing guard rather than to bus students to other schools? That is something we can share with the transportation department. I'm not aware of us hiring crossing guards that are district employees, but we can certainly look into that feedback. To add one more point to that, when you look at the number of students that live in this particular area that you would then allow to walk, that would significantly overcrowd the remainder of the school. We would need to then reduce the attendance areas somewhere else around, possibly further west. So we would have to look at that as well. It would not be in addition to what we already have, because at 93%, when you add the significant number of students that are in this particular area, that would certainly put this school significantly overcrowded in its first year. Do you need to register in advance to ensure our child gets assigned to Apex Friendship Elementary? So if you live in the base attendance area or the proposed base attendance area for Apex Friendship Elementary, and it is approved, and that is your school assignment for 22-23, since the school does not have an enrollment cap, there is no time frame that you must be enrolled by, such as like a cap school where you have a window of where you need to enroll by a certain date and then prove that you've lived there prior. That would not be the case for Apex Friendship Elementary. Will sidewalks or walking paths be provided for Richardson Road communities to get to Apex Friendship Elementary? I am not aware of that, but we can certainly pass that question along to our friends at the Apex municipality and our transportation department to find out if they have any information on that. All right, providing an updated map. So what I'd like to do is show you, if you go to the addendum, which is really far towards the end, you do have more detailed maps. So the addendum map for Apex Friendship would be on slide, I can't see what slide number this is, 84. So if you go to 84 and then zoom in, you can see some street names that you can identify. It may not have every single street name, but it'll give you some street names that you can identify and then know which are in and around there. Okay, good question. So if we are currently attending a Wake County school, do we need to enroll again, or will we be automatically transferred to the new school? So if you are assigned to the new school, once the board makes the final vote and approves it, if your address is still assigned to Apex Friendship Elementary, then you will not need to re-register. Your child will just automatically be assigned to that school. Any other questions? Oh, we got another one. Has the construction begun already? It's a great question. I haven't driven by the site in quite some time, so I'm not 100% sure, but we can check and get an answer to that. When will we know the final school assignment? So on December 7th, which is the scheduled day as of right now, the board will vote on the final plan. And once that vote has been approved, we will then send out assignment strips to families. So if your child is attending school face-to-face and you do not have a Power School account, we will send those assignment strips home in their backpacks if they're in school. If they're in a multi-track year-round school on track 1, I believe we will be mailing those because you will be tracked out at the time that we would send out assignment strips. So those would be mailed to track 1 families. If you are a middle school or high school family and you have a parent account in Power School, you will not receive an assignment strip, but be directed to your Power School account where you can view the assignment strip online. Okay, we have a board member who provided some information, Ms. Kushner. She said crossing guards are funded by municipal governments. I believe that Wake County does not have jurisdiction to control traffic. The same is true for sidewalks and walking paths. And that was per Mr. Simmons. Another question we have is, how do I know what year-round schools are open to transfer if I want to stay on year-round, and can I stay at my current school? So if you were assigned to Apex Friendship out of Olive Chapel, unless you are rising into 5th grade, you would not be eligible to use the stability rules to return to Olive Chapel. You could submit a hardship transfer request, which is February 25th through March 11th. At that point, you can provide us with any specific details about your reasoning for wanting to remain at Olive Chapel, despite not being eligible under the stability rules. And our staff will provide you with an appeal that will be heard by the board. Now, the appeal process, you don't get to speak with board members. You would get to come speak with staff, and then we present that appeal on your behalf to the board during the closed session. If you'd like to apply to any year-round school, again, same window, you can apply to any year-round school. We will have a list of schools that have some available seats at that time, and we post that on our website along with the request for transfer link. And if you have any questions or concerns about your individual student or what your options are, you can always reach out to the Office of Student Assignment. Specifically, the senior administrator for your area is Louis Ambrico. You can speak with him and he can help walk you through your individual situation. And I did get a confirmation that construction has begun. Okay, so are there going to be any exceptions made based on the student that got placed into an overflow school far from home? Just to clarify, I'm wondering, are you talking about during the hardship transfer period? I'm going to answer that question assuming so. So while staff has to make a decision based on operational efficiency, especially when you're talking about capped schools. So during a hardship transfer, staff would deny the hardship transfer request back into a capped school. And so therefore that would be a board decision. And so the board takes into account many different factors. And so while I don't have the authority to answer on behalf of the board, I can tell you that all of the information that you provide, whether it's in your original request, any backup material that you provide during your original request, the anecdotal notes that the hearing officer takes during your appeal, and then any additional documentation you submit during the appeal, the board reviews each and every case individually and then makes a decision. So that information were to be shared with them, they would consider that. Why are we splitting the Bellicose neighborhood in half because of a crosswalk? Bellicose is a very large neighborhood. And unfortunately, at all times, we're not able to keep an entire neighborhood of that size all assigned to one school. There is some physical breaks in there that we were able to separate the differences between the eastern portion of the community as opposed to the western portion. We've had to do this in the past. Again, Cary Park was another area in recent years that had a similar situation. It's very difficult. We do, as much as possible, try to keep neighborhoods together. But when you have different phases of neighborhoods that are not always adjacent to or connected through homes, from the connecting streets, it makes it very difficult. And so, unfortunately, we're not always able to keep entire neighborhoods together that way. Good question. So if Olive Chapel and Scotts Ridge are over capacity and Apex Friendship plans to open at 93% capacity, why not build the school bigger? I would have loved to. We can only build a school that will fit on the plot of land that we have. There are a lot of restrictions that come along with that. But we did build the school that was as big as possible that fit on that property. Okay, so we have some areas that are off of Evans Road. If the kids can go to the middle school and high school that is a few hundred yards from our house, why couldn't they also go to the elementary school? Again, as you're looking at the crowding of all the schools in the particular area, take into account the future schools that are coming up. Staff made the proposal to only assign the portions of the streets that are in the walk zone and then everything to the south and west. When will we know if Olive Chapel is capped for 22-23? While that information does come from long-range planning, I can say you can safely assume that Olive Chapel will remain capped at least until we have some more relief with future schools, particularly South Salem Street. I think that will be the first time we'll probably be able to actively consider taking the cap off or not of Olive Chapel. I think the concerns that staff has is all of the growth and the continued growth that's happening in and around the school, throughout the town of Apex, even further north above 64. So there's a lot of growth in this particular area, and we need to have seats for students at schools. That's a good point. Thank you, Ms. Mahaffey. Ms. Mahaffey brought up the point that Apex Friendship Elementary was altered to be larger. Initially, it held about 200 less students. That is correct. We did purchase an additional piece of property so that we could expand the size of the school. Thank you for that. Any idea of when the school website will be live? Once the principal we hire, once we hire the principal, we will work with them to build their website. Someone was asking about the school website for Apex Friendship Elementary. Have we considered opening Apex Friendship Elementary as a year-round calendar to increase the capacity? Very good question. Traditionally, what we have done with new schools is if they share the same campus as other schools, we would open the school on that particular calendar. So in this particular case, Apex Friendship Elementary, while it shares the campus with Apex Friendship Middle School and Apex Friendship High School, both on the traditional calendar, the decision was to open it on the traditional calendar as well. Excuse me. Is that something we'll probably need to look into the future to consider? Staff has certainly started those conversations.
Glenn, that was our last question.
Okay.
Does anybody else have a question? I know I answered one already from Christy Worrell. She asked if it was traditional or year-round. I said traditional. Anybody else? Hang on, Glenn.
So it's been noted that websites for new schools usually launch in the spring prior to them opening. And again, I just want to reiterate to everyone, thank you again for coming. Again, contact the Office of Student Assignment if you have any additional questions about your particular family or your situation. Again, Louis Ambrico from our office will be more than happy to help. And also continue to use our online forum to provide feedback to staff. We really appreciate you doing so. All right.
There are a few more, Glenn. We're passing them up.
Perfect. Hey, Corrali, can you also put Lewis's email address in the chat?
Yes, let me find that.
Thank you. So with the opening of Apex Friendship Elementary, will all kids currently capped out be pulled back? That's something we're going to continue to look at. As you provide relief to Olive Chapel and to Scotts Ridge, while I can't make any promises that all the students who are currently capped out will get to be called back, I can certainly say that a good majority of them will. We are opening a brand new school, so that will significantly provide relief to the current overflow schools. All right, let us know how the application schools are shown in the assignment search tool online. You let us know the basis on how application schools are showing. Okay, so I think I understand this, and I apologize if I'm getting this wrong. This is from Vic. I think you're asking, why isn't Apex Friendship Elementary an application school? Because it's a brand new school, and due to the crowding in the area, we are not assigning Apex Friendship as a traditional calendar application school for Olive Chapel. I think that may answer your question. The calendar application schools will remain Bauckham Elementary, which is the only school with available seats, and Scotts Ridge, but we'll certainly be looking at in the future any other schools to consider due to the crowding. So here, allowing families the option to remain at Olive Chapel, should they choose, can open up seats for families in Bellicose who would like to attend Apex Friendship Elementary. Has this been considered? So we wouldn't be able to consider that until we know how many students actually show up at Apex Friendship Elementary. So once we reassign students and then we get an idea of how many seats we have to have available for all the base students, then we would look at any potential hardship transfers should seats become available. So you can certainly submit a hardship transfer request for Apex Friendship Elementary. Prior to that window, we will let you know if we anticipate having any seats available, though. Do you know if Salem will still be an option? Ms. Worrell, do you mind following up with that? So do you know if Salem will be an option? Are you saying an overflow school for Olive Chapel or as a calendar application school? I'm not aware of Salem being an application school for Scotts Ridge.
Glenn, I'll let you know if she replies via chat.
Okay, and I have a note in here from Matt. I think they're asking if current Olive Chapel. Is there a chance that the school won't be ready by August 2022? I have not heard anything from building and design to make us feel that the school would not be ready in time. But should anything ever like that happen, we will certainly share that with the public as we know. Salem is our current calendar application school for Scotts Ridge. We currently attend Salem. So if you are reassigned to Apex Friendship Elementary, you would not have a year-round application school. However, if you remain at Scotts Ridge, it would remain as Salem. I hope that answers the question properly. Okay. If a child was previously assigned to and attending Olive Chapel, will they automatically be reassigned to Apex Friendship? Yeah, so any student who is assigned to a new school, so if your address is in the Olive Chapel base and you're attending Olive Chapel, but now your new base school is Apex Friendship Elementary, you would be automatically assigned to the new school. Okay. So I briefly saw something about pre-registering. So I'll say this. If you have pre-registered already at your current base school, your 21-22 base school, you're good to go. If your child gets reassigned to the brand new school per the vote on December 7th, we will automatically just push your student records over to the brand new school. Anyone who's pre-registered, anyone assigned to the brand new school will always go to register at their 21-22 school, base school, to complete the enrollment process, because obviously the new school is not built. So if you are base assigned to Scotts Ridge or Olive Chapel, those would be the schools that you would pre-register at, and then we will push your records to the brand new school once it opens. So question is, Apex Friendship, if you're assigned to that school as your new base school, will a year-round option be offered for those who don't want to attend a traditional school? We do not offer district transportation, so we're not offering a year-round application school. However, you can submit a request for a year-round school during the request for transfer period, which is February 25th through March 11th.
That is it so far, Glenn.
Okay. And once again, I want to say thank you for everyone taking the time to show up tonight and ask questions and provide feedback. We really appreciate it. Why do some neighborhoods have the option for magnet or other calendar application schools with busing, but not all? Okay, so I'll handle this two different ways. So magnet. So when we look at offering magnet options to addresses, they're generally broad application areas. So for example, in this particular area, you can apply to an elementary school of Fuller as your GTAIG magnet school as one of them. And so it takes, everything from the southwestern part of the county. So some schools we incentivize people to apply by offering better levels of transportation, such as neighborhood transportation, which would be basically door-to-door bus service. Other schools may not be able to provide that level of transportation. We could offer express busing. And then some schools, unfortunately, we don't offer transportation, but it would be parent provided. And then as for calendar application schools, like I said earlier, if we do not have a proximate year-round school in an area, we chose to not offer a year-round application school. That doesn't mean that families can't also apply for a year-round school. They can do so during the request for transfer period. If approved, they would just have to provide their own transportation.
Thank you, everyone. If you still have questions after this, please provide feedback on Granicus. Glenn and I work to answer those questions every day. We're still here if you do have more questions, but after this, you can leave any feedback on Granicus.
And if you have individual questions about your student or your family, please contact Louis Ambrico, and it looks like his email address is in the chat.
One more, Glenn.
Okay. What do you expect fifth grade to look like at Apex Friendship Elementary, given the option to stay at the current school? Good question. A lot of that depends on parent choices. So while all fifth grade students would be given the option to return to their current school, based on what choices parents make will determine how many fifth grade seats we would have available. I'd say historically, you do see the most students take the opportunity to return to their previous school at the fifth grade or eighth grade level the last year. But we do have families that still choose to go to the new school. Not because district transportation is not provided if you return to your previous school. Families that need transportation often end up assigned and enrolled and attend the new school. Sorry. Okay, so what if I want to stay at the overflow school? Unfortunately, if your new address puts you at a new school, you would be assigned to the new school, but you can submit a hardship transfer request to return back to your previous school. So it could be the overflow school. You would not get district transportation if that transfer request is approved. And the appropriate time frame would be the request for transfer period, which is February 25th through March 11th. Okay, so if you are not reassigned to the new school and you'd like to stay at your overflow school, you have that option. When the school contacts you, if a seat becomes available at the base school, You can decline that option. However, if you do so, you would just lose district bus transportation, but you may remain. We have opportunities to tour the school and meet administration. I'm sure there will be open house opportunities. They generally do a ribbon cutting at the school. We generally do some kickoff events, and I don't know if anybody in communications can add to that, but I do know that we do have events at the new schools to present them to the community.
Glenn, Lindsay Mahaffey chimed in and she said that yes, principals usually do meet and greets with parents prior to school opening. So you guys will have a chance to meet the principal.
Excellent, thank you.
So construction determines when the school will be available for parents to tour. From Lindsay.
Miss Hartley, I will have Louis Ambrico reach out to you about your particular situation to make sure that we have all the information before we give you an answer, okay? Once again, I want to thank everyone for taking the time to come ask questions and provide feedback. Using the online forum is a great way to continue to share after this event. And if you have any questions or concerns about your individual student or family, you can contact Louis Ambrico from our office. And his contact information is in the chat.
Thank you all for joining. If there aren't any more questions, we're done here.